Hey everybody, this is Jacqueline Bretell, the host of Legally Vegas, and we are back with another episode. I am so excited to introduce to you guys today somebody who's become a friend of mine who I have long looked up to in the Las Vegas community. And although he has done all different types of law and all different types of cases, he's going to be talking to us primarily today about his work in the criminal defense arena. And this is the first time on the Legally Vegas podcast that we've ever had anyone with a background in criminal defense. So without further ado, I want to welcome Mr. John Spilotro to Legally Vegas.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
I was so excited when I called you and asked you completely out of the blue. I think I texted you and said, "Is this still you?" Because it had been a while. And I called you and I asked you, "Would you ever consider doing this podcast?" And I know you're not a big media guy.
No.
In fact, when I was preparing for this today, I was doing some research trying to find like what big cases you've had in the media, and I didn't find very many.
Well, there's a lot that have been in the media, usually at the inception, but I'm not a media guy, and I don't think on the criminal end. I only know really of two cases where the media has helped the criminal defendant. One was the OJ case. The other might have been Kyle Rittenhour. Other than that, I don't see where it helps.
That's it.
I try to get it the hell out.
So when you have a case that's got even encroaching into media territory, you try and shut it down.
I try to back it down.
That makes sense. So that made it very difficult in preparing to talk with you today. So so for those of you that are like tuning in, so John and I met a very long time ago. It was in the earliest part of my career. And John was representing a physician in town in all of these depositions that we were taking. You represented him in a larger capacity, but you and I met and interacted in these depositions. And these were depositions that would take place almost always at 7 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays. And so we would all get together in this office, and I really looked up to you in particular with how you handled things in those depositions. Obviously, your presence there as personal counsel, things would sometimes get pretty contentious. I've shared with you, I started practicing when I was 23. So when I met you, I would have still been in my 20s. And I was new in my career, and I'm Canadian. So that means like we say sorry about everything, and can be kind of timid. And I really admired how fiercely you advocated and protected your client while at the same time remaining just incredibly professional and by the book. And it was something when I watched what your demeanor was in those depositions, I would think to myself, I need to be more like John Spilotro.
Oh my God, that's a wonderful compliment. Thank you. But
yes.
I know some people that may differ with that, but thank you.
No,
it's a great compliment.
You've had this incredible legal career. I mean, you started practicing in Nevada in 1990. I know you're also barred in California. Do you still do any work in California?
No,
okay.
No, not at all. I put that on inactive.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't think you were born in Vegas, but how old were you when you arrived in Vegas?
That's a good question. I don't know.
A kid?
8, 9, somewhere around there.
And so growing up in Vegas then, what side of town did you live in? What general area?
Well, you couldn't say what's.
I know.
What side
nowadays,
of town back then?
Yeah. So small.
The first house we lived in for about a year was somewhere up off of, what was it, like by the municipal golf course over Washington, Decatur area.
Yeah.
And then we went to the east side near Paradise Park. And that's really where I grew up. But that was almost like the edge of town at that time. Pecos was 2 lanes. And once you got past Russell Road, it was dirt. So,
I love probably my largest hobby outside of work and family is like looking at houses for sale in Las Vegas. And I love all of the old historic Vegas neighborhoods. In fact, I was just looking at a house on the east side. It backs up to a golf course. I can't remember exactly which neighborhood it was in, but it was a former Caesars exec that built the house. And I believe it was built in the early 70s. And it was just this incredible property.
Early
There's
70s
so many
casino
cool
exec,
properties.
maybe Jay Sarno.
Maybe. I'll have to look that up later.
Yeah,
I'll show it to you
I don't know who the
afterwards.
exec was, but I'm going back to that time period.
So
Caesars.
you have you come from a remarkable family. and that especially in Las Vegas is a known name. And I think over the years, especially probably since the 90s, has become a more well-known name in a broader scale, nationally or even internationally. What was it like growing up in Las Vegas as a Spilotro? And when did you know that you had a famous name?
Oh, wow. Pretty early on. I would say pretty early on. What was it like? Well, I can give you a kind of a brief story. I remember coming home from playing baseball up at the park, just guys getting together. And it was about 110 out. And I had the house key was in my shoe. And as I was walking up to the house, it was so hot. And I couldn't count how many FBI agents were out all over the house in suits. And they wanted into the house. And when they saw me, they said, "Let us in."
Into your house?
Yeah. They had a search warrant to serve. And my answer was no. I can't get in the house. I don't have a key.
Yeah.
I lied. Which is now a 1001 charge, and you get 18 months.
Statute of limitations run on that.
So, yeah, but you know, that was the thing, and the answer was no. You're not going to my house. I sat in front of the door. They wanted to break it in. I wouldn't move from the front door. Refused to. They told me they're going to go in the back. I said, "Well, there's dogs back there." They said, "Well, we'll shoot the dogs." I said, "Then go shoot the dog. I don't care. You want into the house. You wait till my dad gets here. We don't know where your dad is." I said, "Come on, man. Are you kidding me? You're lying. You got him over at the jewelry store."
How old were you when all this was happening?
I was 13 or 14.
It's crazy.
So, you know, and then that was the first real big taste of it. And then all kinds of craziness. But they waited. They waited till my dad got there. I would not leave the front of the door. I said, "You got sledgehammers, you got a battering ram, hit me."
And that kind of throws you into the criminal justice arena really young. Gives you an exposure to, because look, I'm not a criminal defense attorney. I don't know, but that seems a little aggressive as far as the FBI. You're a kid.
Yeah, no, but they were professional. They left me alone. And they just sat there and waited, and I watched them melt in their suits for about the next hour.
That's okay.
And until they got my dad there.
Right.
And, you know, then I went wherever to a neighbor's house or something like that. But then growing up from there, you know, I like girls a lot. And
so the name maybe helped you?
No.
No?
Well, no. A lot of times you want to take a girl out. Their parents didn't know. People you were hanging out with, then their parents would say you can't hang out with them. And then as I got older, always under surveillance. It was a cat and mouse game. They're watching you. They know that we know they're watching us. It was like stupidness. But parties, if I couldn't shake a tail, because this is before car trackers and all that.
Yeah.
If I couldn't shake the tail, I wouldn't go to a party. Because I went to the party, they'd call the black and whites, and the party would get busted up.
Right.
That wasn't fair to everybody.
Right.
It was horrible. So there was a lot of that stuff. And then when they'd want to roust me, and I was a pain in their ass, I'm not going to lie about that. But I'd get pulled over regularly, and it wasn't one ticket. It'd be half, you know, back in the day when they wrote out on their little thing, it'd be half the book.
It's incredible.
So then I'd go up to Oscar's office, and, you know.
He'd take care of it.
Yeah, Bill Terry or Steve Stein, you know, one of the guys. And
now you had, I mean, did all of these things help motivate you to go to law school or put you in that direction?
Yeah, absolutely it did.
And I know from, you know, of course, anybody can Google that early on, and I think you were probably a teenager when your Oscar Goodman was representing your uncle,
yes,
which I believe ended in a not guilty verdict. That would have been prior to you even starting law school. Did you get to attend any of that trial?
I attended lots of court dates. I can't even remember all the court dates. So yes, I always had interaction with lawyers, whether it was Oscar or Dominic Gentile. There's so many of them, and Steve Stein, and just a lot, you know. So yeah, you were on the end, and eventually I went to work for them as runners.
And
they were kind enough to. They were kind enough.
First job.
Yeah, they were kind enough to hire me.
So
I couldn't work anywhere else. Nobody else in town would hire a Spilotro for anything.
But Oscar would, and Dominic Gentile would.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you shared with me that your first legal job, right, was as a runner.
Yes.
And tell us about. You didn't drive back then, right?
No, I was too young. I didn't have a driver's. I did drive, but no
Not
driver's
legally.
license, so I couldn't do it. Yeah.
And so how would you do your runs back then?
That was at first with Dominic Gentile. His office was Maryland Parkway in Charleston, roughly at the Circle Park there. I would ride my bike. I'd ride it to the courthouse, do the filings, do whatever runs had to be done.
And this is all, it's like now, of course, we do e-filing on everything, but
yes.
Even when I started, there was no e-filing. And so it was taking all the pleadings, all the multiple copies down,
yes.
and they physically stamp it in. So you're carrying these big sets of pleadings back and forth on your bicycle.
Yes, but it was cool because, you're a kid, and you're a runner, but you learned all the clerks. You knew their names. They knew you.
Yeah.
They were very helpful. They were very nice. It was. I loved it. It was cool.
So my first job was as a runner too.
Okay.
But I drove. I had a Jeep Wrangler, and I which I think is what you pulled up in today.
Yes.
So I had this Jeep Wrangler that was a stick shift, and I'd be in like my skirt and my heels because I was, I would also cover like the front desk, and it was my first law firm job. So of course I was going to wear the skirt and the heels, and but I would run all over town in this Jeep Wrangler stick shift, and I'd always kick my shoes off before I got in because I couldn't drive the stick and the heels. And so, but I drove all over Chattanooga, Tennessee as a runner, and that was my first exposure too. And you're right, you learn really quickly the relationships that you have with the clerks, the relationships that you have with all of the, what I would call back office, right? Not the judge, but everyone else that makes the courthouse go. Those relationships really matter.
Oh yeah, I was taught early on as a lawyer. Steve Stein took me around, introduced me to all the judges, but he would always also introduce me to the judge's court clerk.
Who's the most important person in the room?
You got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you learn that right up front. And most young lawyers don't even realize it.
They don't even appreciate it now.
No.
Yeah.
So be, the court clerk and the JEA.
Yep. Those are the two people. You need something on calendar, you need an extension. Those are the people that are going to start making that happen for you.
Yes.
So you go to law school. Back then, I know there's no law school in Las Vegas. There's no law school in Nevada. And so where do you go to law school?
I went to the University of San Diego.
Okay. So you're out of town. Did you do that in 3 years and then right back to Vegas?
Yeah. Yes.
You always knew you were coming back.
Well, yeah, because Vegas is a fast-paced town. Okay. Faster pace than San Diego. I love going to San Diego. I love to visit, but I had to live there for 8 years for college undergrad too. And I needed something more fast-paced. I liked it here. So I wanted to come back here. Absolutely.
Yeah. I love Vegas and can't imagine living anywhere else. So of course you would want to come back. So you come back. What's your first legal job once you're back in Vegas?
I went to work with Oscar Goodman. It was Oscar Goodman at the time we went in there was Oscar, Steve Stein, and David Chesnoff.
Okay. And so, and I know...
And a bunch of other associates.
Now, was Dave Chesnoff back then, was he a partner at that firm, or was he...
Yes, he was a partner.
Okay. And he's still, of course, I know that name and have had a few interactions with him over the years on various cases, and but is still an incredible lawyer.
Yes, he is.
Oscar, I know, doesn't practice anymore,
no,
but did for many years and has his own. Has been a prolific presence in Las Vegas for decades now.
That's Oscar.
You are, so in your first part of your career, you're working for Oscar. You're an associate attorney. What kind of work are you doing then?
At that point, I'm doing a lot of the motion work, trial motion work, and appeals. So I wrote so many briefs I can't even tell you. But they would come into the office, 7:30. They'd find me asleep on the conference table.
Because you worked all night.
I worked all night, books all over the place, and there was no computer research. We had a library, we had books, and I'd have stuff spread all over the place, and I'd dictate, and the secretaries would type it up, and that's the way you did it back then. So yeah.
Do you still dictate and have somebody else type it up, or do you type your own stuff now?
I type with 2 fingers. It takes forever. Speech to text now because nobody does dictation.
Yes.
So, but yeah. So
when I first that job where I was a runner, my boss, who's a very very big trial lawyer in the trucking accident community, he would dictate, and he had just a traditional dictaphone, and all the tapes, and I would come in the morning, and there would be the basket of all the tapes, right? And his paralegal would sit there with the headphones in and type everything that he had done over the weekend. And I still tell our young lawyers now that, like, that's how it used to be. Now, they write a brief, they just like press a button and say, please write this brief and include these arguments. They press a button and AI does it. It's crazy.
I wouldn't do it.
You wouldn't do that. Yeah.
I wouldn't. Too many guys have gotten in trouble with the AI being false. And just as an example, mental exercise, I've done it on quite a few occasions. I screenshotted it, but the answers from AI, because I argue with it and win in the argument. So if I'm beating AI in an argument,
right?
Why do I want you to write my brief?
Yeah.
No.
I made a video a while back about, how they say like, oh, AI is going to replace lawyers, right? And I always joke like our clients don't listen to us, so they're not going to listen to the AI that can't,
Well, what's frustrating is I had a client recently come in with a brief that they had AI write and they wanted to file it. I said, I'll never file this. There's no way. The judge would look at me like I'm crazy.
Absolutely.
It's wrong. It's just not even right, and it's not the way it works. So the answer is no. But if you want to do your case yourself,
go for it.
Go for it.
Yeah. Now, a lot has changed. I mean, you start practicing in Las Vegas in 1990.
Yes.
We're sitting here. It's 2026. A lot has changed. I know that it has. Even since I've been here since 2011, a lot has changed. What has been the most significant change that you've seen as far as the legal community goes?
Well, it's the size of it.
Yeah.
Size of it. It's so big. Back in when I started, I would be able to, if I had 10 court appearances, I'd be in and out of the courtrooms in less than an hour and a half. Now you're lucky if you can get 2 cases done, even for simple stuff in that period of time. The elevators, the wait, how big the calendars are. No, back then, boom, 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 in and out, in and out, in and out, on the simple stuff.
We could probably spend a whole day talking about the Regional Justice Center elevators. That's a disaster. I think one of them.
Those were obsolete when they planned the building, and they knew it.
Yeah, they knew. They didn't have enough. I think one of them's never worked, so we've been stuck with 5 elevators for
horrible.
Years. You're having this famous name. Do you think that it has helped professionally? Has it created roadblocks for you professionally?
Both, in a sense. The sense where it's been good is people will hire me because of the name. Their expectations are wrong. They think something's going to happen other than really just what law is in the legal system.
But you might be able to do something. They have that expectation.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. Well, you're the guy, people. Right. There's this bad one. No. It doesn't work that way. So in that aspect, you got a name, it's known, so they call, so you get cases. Was there roadblocks to it? Yeah. When I first started, I had one judge tell me, go back to the office and send Mr. Goodman in here to argue this, because I was 25, and you're no runners in here. He knows, Goodman knows better than that. And I'm like, no, Judge. And there were judges at the new admittees party. I don't know if they do that anymore. Do they do the new admittees?
I think they do. And then they have the Meet the Judges mixer. The Clark County Bar Association does that. I'm guessing it's something like that. Yeah.
So, and that's what it was. And it was like a picnic setting. I forget where it was. And I went with my parents, and there was a judge, and we had sat down at the table next to the judge and introduced, myself. My dad introduced himself, and the judge just looked at us, him and his wife picked up their plates, went to a different table.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
You've almost had
and it also became difficult in some jury selections.
Do you still fight that now in jury selection? Or do you feel like enough time?
Well, that at least that juror was honest.
That's true.
And said, because that's the thing with jury selection, are they being candid or are they not being candid? This juror was candid enough. He said, Spilotro, no. I ain't going to believe anything that happens with them. And Judge Mosley that's it. You're done. Get out. He didn't even wait 2 seconds. And that was the end of it. So, I guess maybe to an extent, I don't know, because like I said, it depends if they're candid. How do you know you don't know what's in their mind.
Do you, I asked you this last night, and when I met you, I actually didn't know, I knew your name, but it didn't mean anything to me. And I
Okay.
actually like that for probably the first year that I knew you, that I didn't have any appreciation for the name.
Okay.
That's just because I was a young, dumb kid. That's all. And so,
I wouldn't say that, but okay.
I was young and I was clueless. I just didn't know. And so, and I actually like that I got to meet you as this fierce advocate for somebody who's now become a friend, rather than with any other perception over that. Of course, now, fast forward 15 years, I've been in Vegas. So when there was a very famous movie that came out in the 90s about your family, when you meet people still to this day, I mean, it's been 21 years since that movie came out, do people still ask you about the movie Casino and your thoughts on it, or do they bring it up when they meet you now?
Okay, on that, before they started production on that, they came to town, and I met with them. I was off on my own already, and even though I left Oscar and David and Steve, still great friends.
Of course, yeah.
I talked to David, just the other day, do cases with him and all that. But anyway, we had the meeting up at Oscar's office, and I met with Scorsese and Pileggi, and they wanted me to be an advisor to the film, and which I declined. And of course, they kind of didn't understand why. Why wouldn't you want to do this? And my answer was, my uncles died with their mouth shut. That's the way I'll die. That's the way I was brought up. I could tell stories from now till the cows come home, but I'm never telling them. Because I was also very close with my uncle. So when people ask me about it, I just look and say, I know there's a lot of sensationalism, that I do know.
Right.
But I never saw the movie.
Never, even to this day.
To this day. And Scorsese, actually, they were very nice and they were very professional. He sent me a letter. They actually, before the movie even came out, they secured a theater here in town, and they invited me and the family to go see it, which I declined on behalf of the family, and that was the end of it, and I've never seen the movie to this day.
This episode is sponsored by our firm, Bighorn Law. Now, Bighorn Law is also home to the 2026 Nevada Justice Association's Trial Lawyer of the Year, my partner, Kimball Jones. If you find yourself on the receiving end of an injury, whether it's a slip and fall, medical malpractice, car crash, any type of case, and you want an attorney to take a look, I encourage you to call us here at Bighorn Law at 702-333-1111. We'd be happy to take a look at your case, and we always do free consultations. When I think about Oscar Goodman, I think of him as this legal legend in Las Vegas.
He is.
I actually met him just one time. We were at a fundraiser together for the Clark County Law Foundation, and Oscar was emceeing the event, and he was supposed to introduce me. I was giving an award. That didn't happen. I was very excited about it. I thought, man, this is so cool. Like, I know everybody knows who Oscar Goodman is, and he's going to introduce me to give this award. Unfortunately, the drinks were flowing, and that didn't happen, but I did get to meet him. He was fantastic. And of course, his wife. And they are, beyond even this Las Vegas legend when it comes to his legal profession, then became the mayor of Las Vegas, and then his wife was the mayor of Las Vegas. And so for those of us that have lived here for a long time, the Goodman family is just so entrenched in Las Vegas history. And when I think of legends, I think of Oscar Goodman. But what other legends have you had the opportunity to practice with, or any kind of standout memories for you?
Well, there was some cases that I've done, very big cases. Those are the ones I enjoy the most, where a team of lawyers is put together, and I consider myself fortunate that I get invited into this and hired to do it. Marty Weinberg out of Boston, who defended Martha Stewart and done a lot of big cases out there. Don Ray in L.A. was huge. Two of the smartest guys I've ever met. Those are two. I love them to death, and just had a great time. Learned so much from them.
So they would get brought in to try cases here in Vegas, and you had the opportunity to do cases with them.
Yes.
That's cool.
And, as well as other places.
Yeah.
wherever. I mean, I've worked with, bigger cases in federal court in Los Angeles, and there will be a team of lawyers, and that's what I like the most. So, but yeah, those two guys, Steve Stein was, I thought, incredible at that juncture of his career. He was just an incredible lawyer. David and Oscar. So yeah.
Yeah. The speaking of just the general practice of law and the criminal defense practice in particular, I've always heard that there, of course, we've all heard, how can you defend that person? So it's not even worth bringing that up here. I always thought that there were two types of criminal defense attorneys. There's the category of people who really care a lot about whether their client did it. They need to know, did my client commit the crime? And then there's the other side of it, which I think is probably more common, which is it doesn't actually matter whether my client committed the crime or not. What matters is, are they going to get a fair trial, and are they going to have their constitutional rights protected?
Then
would you agree with that?
Yes,
okay.
I do. But I think if you're the lawyer who really wants to know, and you're only going to take the case where you know your client did it, and that's assuming, how do you know that? Because that's what your client told you. But if that's the case you're going to take, then that's a tough case. You better win that damn thing. Because if he's truly innocent or not guilty, you better win that one. There's a lot of times we're defending people, and they may have done something. They may have done something wrong. So you are defending their rights, and you're putting the prosecution to their burden is guaranteed by the Constitution.
Right.
And that's what you're doing, and that's what the defense is. So to me, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. But,
what would you say is the most challenging or the most difficult type of client to defend?
Well, from two different aspects. One is when there's a lot of times we end up with clients that maybe mentally aren't firing on all cylinders. Mm-hmm. That becomes very difficult. They may well be competent, but they may have some mental issues or whatever. That's difficult. It's always like an uphill battle. Most pressure is when I've defended other lawyers.
We don't make good clients.
Well, they're looking over your shoulder over every little thing and have a comment about everything, which is good, though. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's actually good, but it's not like any other client that you're defending, because they have knowledge of something of how the system works and what's going through it and all that kind of thing. So
and probably a lot of opinions. In fact, I would almost argue, I wonder which is worse, the client who's trying to tell you what to do through AI or the lawyer client. They might be
the client through AI is worse.
That's worse. Yeah,
because you could have a discussion with the lawyer client.
That's true.
And there was a lawyer client that I represented, and he would question, why are you doing this? And that doesn't bother me, because clients will do that, but I will explain why. And and then when you do the trial, like in that instance, I mean, I did crazy stuff with that thing. I also looked at it if it was going to go on an appeal, so you're protecting a record. So there's different aspects to the defense itself. And I cross-examined the cops on case law. So when they wanted to tell me whatever, it was that issue was like a traffic stop, why it wasn't routine. Okay, it's not routine. I started going through the factors, and on the case law, it was routine. So I just start building things up in layers. They may not have realized why I was doing things at the time of why I was doing it, but sooner or later, it gets washed out. They figure it out. And you talk to them.
But you're right. The client who's using AI to tell you this is the defense you should be doing, why didn't you argue this, and it's with hallucinated case law anyway, you almost can't rationalize with clients who do that. There was a case that came down in federal court a couple months ago that was a pro per litigant, and he had been using AI. I believe it was a family law case is maybe where all this started. And then now there's a decision here the federal court case was a criminal case. There's also a local case that's a family court case, and it was all about these individuals unrepresented by lawyers who were inputting everything into AI and having it come up with their legal defenses, all of that. And now all of that's discoverable. There's no attorney-client privilege, and so we tell our clients, you got to stop doing this, because it's just a matter of time before I think the state gets a clue and starts subpoenaing
Yes.
their ChatGPT history and all of that.
Yes, because
really
you're
scary.
inputting information that could end up being
Right.
used against you. I don't care whether it's a civil case or a criminal case. And people what they don't realize when they use AI, and I'm here to tell you, AI is garbage in, garbage out.
Yep.
You can, as I played with the AI, arguing with it and stuff, what I notice is based on the information you put into it, you're getting a biased result.
Yeah. It wants to please you almost.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what would you say is the biggest mistake that young lawyers make these days, besides probably using AI?
Well,
it can be maybe in trial or
in trial.
life.
To me, is the one question too many.
What do you mean?
You can. Can I give you a for instance?
Yeah, totally.
I was trying with another young lawyer. It was a case we were representing two women who were accused of prostitution.
Okay.
And the way the facts were coming out, they meet the undercover cop in the lobby of the hotel, this, that, the other, the arrest happens. And looking at the police reports, as you're preparing the case, there was no evidence of any condoms, lube, anything like that you're usually going to see in a case like that. And so, of course, the defense, the cop is testifying, and yeah, it was a dance, and it was this, and the cop is trying to extrapolate it out. Well, I know that the police report says that there's nothing there, but just because it said that doesn't mean anything. And this is back before body cams, and some officers, not all, some officers used to do what they would call, they termed it test-a-line. So as we're going through the case, I'm just looking for reasonable doubt.
Right.
I think I got it at this point because the cop was quoted a price to go do a dance. But the cop said, well, what about something else after that? Well, we'll talk later. I didn't see it as a prostitution solicitation because it was for the dance. And that's what it was. Yeah. And the young lawyer, started asking questions. Well, you searched the purse. And I'm like, oh, why didn't you just stop? Stop. Because there's no evidence of that as it is. That the prosecution was done. I was done with my cross. He didn't need to go there. If the prosecutor on rebuttal would have brought it up, then you would have dealt with it. But right now it's not. I could argue to the judge, if this was a prostitute case, you would have seen the lube. You would have seen the condoms. You would have seen the pager. You would have seen all the things we usually see in these cases. It's open. I can argue it.
Right.
He asked the one question too many, and he got lucky. The cop said, yeah, we searched. We didn't find it. Okay.
Very lucky.
So he gets lucky in that aspect, and where you could have argued it the same way by not asking the question.
Right.
The result is the same because the way the evidence is sitting at that point. So that was the one question too many. Sometimes they ask one question too many.
What would you say is the most overlooked part of the jury trial? The part that maybe lawyers should be focusing more of their time on and tend to neglect?
Well, two things.
Okay.
One is voir dire in a jury trial. I think that's important. That primacy, recency, okay. Psychologically, you're going to remember first thing, last thing. Voir dire is your first presentation to the jury. This is where you have your first opportunity to build a rapport with these jurors. Okay. So a lot of lawyers don't pay attention to that. Maybe they pay more attention to it than I realize. I don't know. But I think that's one. And the other is I'm watching the judge. Just like in jury trial, I'm going to watch jurors to see what their reactions are to certain things. That's what I'm gauging. I can hear a witness and look somewhere else at the same time. And some lawyers should maybe do that a little bit more.
So in other words, those are the people that everything rests in their hands, whether it's the jury or whether it's the judge. And so I think you're right. I mean, they're communicating whether the judge knows it or not. The judge can be communicating their feelings about certain things or their surprise about certain things. And so you're paying attention specifically to that. What can I pick up on and what can I enhance?
Yeah, what can I run
or
with?
minimize?
What's resonating with them? What can I build upon? Or then you could do something, if something does resonate with them, even when I'm questioning a witness, I'll peek over. If something is resonating with them, if it's in cross-examination, I'll try to loop it in, which means there may be a certain fact that, so I'll try to build that fact into other questions so it continues to resonate. And you loop it, and you loop it, and you loop it, and you loop it. Now you're trying to ingrain it.
Right.
So,
do you think a great trial lawyer, think of all the great trial lawyers that you know,
okay,
can it be taught, or is it something you're just born with?
Yeah, I've thought about that. I think there's parts of it you're born with. I think a lot of it can be taught, but how is it being taught becomes the big question. And what I'll say about that is this: you could do a trial, you can win the trial. What did you do right? Any trial you've won, what did you do right?
I think when I think about the trials that we've done, I mean, it could have been any number of things.
Uh-huh.
But I could also think of like 100 things we did wrong or
Okay.
could have done better.
But if I talk about a trial you lost and ask you, what'd you do wrong?
Oh, I could tell you all day. How long you got?
Exactly. So the point of that being is we learn, you actually are learning more from the loss
That's true.
than the win. So when you're talking about trial advocacy, somebody can teach you certain things, but then again, sometimes experience itself is the best teacher.
That's true. You know, my partner Kimball gives a presentation at various conferences, and he talks about the evolution that he made as a trial lawyer. And he always goes back to the first trial that Kimball and I did together. It was a short trial, and we got defensed, and how painful that was, and all the lessons that were learned, right? And then you just keep going and going, and you're right. I mean, when you lose, it for us, at least, our experience has been it takes like 3 months off of our life because I think
that's what it feels like.
Man, it's so painful.
It hurts.
It hurts so bad. And but you're right. You learn the most from those because when you win, you just move on.
Well, it's A, you just move on, but B, like what went right, and you mentioned it, and which is really, I think, the true answer. You did everything right.
Yeah.
You can't pinpoint always one thing that really tipped
That's
it.
True.
But you can a lot of times in losses pinpoint that one thing.
That's good. Oh, that makes sense. The legal community in Las Vegas, I mean, what do you think, if anything, makes it unique currently or back in the 90s, however you want to answer it?
Well, back in the 90s, it was smaller.
Yeah.
So we all knew each other, and you socialized a lot. We used to have a regular thing during football season. There was a bunch of us attorneys, DAs, attorneys, and judges. We go watch a football game.
Yeah.
You know, that was great. I think that's kind of stuff still does go on, but I'm not doing it. But it's because it's such a bigger community now. Some of these judges, I don't know them, and I may never even ever appear in front of them because there's so many of them now.
Yeah.
So you don't know, but I liked it in the beginning because it was a pretty tight-knit community, to be honest with you. Defense, at least on the criminal side, we'd help each other out like crazy. I remember, even that, and it's still the case. There was I did for David Chesnoff, asked me to cover just a DMV hearing on a license revocation. And there was an issue with the expert and that they utilized. And I took this expert to task. That would have been more like a voir dire of an expert witness, which you know how difficult it is to knock a witness off a chair.
Yes.
That one got knocked off. But the problem with that is they had utilized, that expert had been utilized for, the past 6 months worth of DUIs in town. Oh. So then word got out about it. John Watkins called me up because John did more DUIs than anybody. I mean, he's an amazing lawyer. And he called me and he asked me what happened, what was the issue, blah, 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 blah. And I told him how he knocked the expert out. And can I get the transcript? Here it is. Boom. And he went and taught CLEs on it. So
that's good.
And
that wasn't even your client. I mean, you were covering for somebody else.
Nope.
When I was looking for some cases that you have currently. So you can go on the court's website, you can type in an attorney's name. And I did find all sorts of cases where you had made an appearance and it was on behalf of like Todd Leventhal or Mr. Chesnoff.
Yeah, because we cover for each other. Todd had to be out of the office for an extended period of time. So I just We help each other out. That's what we do.
That's what I love about the criminal defense arena. And I shared with you that if I ever stopped doing civil, I always wish that I had done criminal defense. That's always what I originally wanted to do in law. And I just kind of fell into the personal injury side. And but I really admire how collaborative it is on the criminal defense side, that I think the defense attorneys have a great network. You guys cover for each other. You guys help each other. You guys share information. But I also think it's a lot, you would think that the civil would be more civil. It's not. I think it's more contentious between insurance defense attorneys, plaintiffs' lawyers, and on the civil practice. And I've always thought that maybe in the criminal field that the criminal defense attorneys and the prosecutors, you guys are just more civil to each other.
We deal with each other more.
Mm. So it's just a smaller community.
That's why. Well, you're going to do more criminal cases and you say your bigger civil cases. So you're only going to deal with, you're always running into the DAs. Every case you may get, if it's a general rotation case, you see different DAs all the time. So you get to know them. And Mondays, Tuesdays. You got to work together in the sense, in a certain sense. I mean, you're adversaries, but doesn't mean you don't be civil. It doesn't mean that you don't have respect. You do. And I think it goes a long way.
One of the things that I know we talked about last night was the importance of your reputation as a lawyer, both with opposing, of course, with your clients, and in the community, but with opposing counsel, with judges. One of the things that I've really tried to instill in our lawyers when they start here, from day one, your very first interaction with a judge, your very first interaction with defense counsel, you're starting to really develop your reputation. And so even though you're young, even though you're brand new, you can't mess it up even on day one. Do you think that's true?
I think it's absolutely true. I think it's, as you build a reputation, hopefully you're building a good reputation, but for all those years that it takes to build a good reputation, one time, just once, you can ruin it and put it to shambles, So I always try to act respectful to the judges. Same with DAs, opposing counsel on the civil cases. They may not be civil with me, but I'm always going to try to take the high road, be a professional. And if it's too much, then I don't engage. Then now we're writing letters, which I hate. I'd rather pick up the phone.
Are you dictating your letter for somebody else to type?
Dictating the letter too. So I type too slow. If I have to type a letter, it'll take me a week. So yeah.
I kind of wish I didn't know how to type, because it'd be a lot more fun to just dictate letters all day. I might actually pick that up. Maybe I'll start that. I don't know. Yeah. Give up my typing career. I taught myself to type when I was like 10. This neighbor had this software that you could put in your computer. It was like a floppy disk or something. You could put it in and it would teach you how to type. And so that's how I learned to type, just like for fun during the summer. Yeah,
but if you're not typing your own stuff, believe it or not, you can get twice as much done.
That's true.
In the same amount of time. So in other words, when I would do, say, a Ninth Circuit brief or brief to the Supreme Court, I'd be dictating it. And when the tape was full, that went to my secretary. And as she's typing that up, I'm on tape too.
So you're doing double. I mean,
and I had wonderful secretaries. They could type as fast as I could talk. So by the time I'm done with that second tape, they've got the first one roughed out. I'm giving them the second tape. They'll start typing up that. I'll do the third. And by the time I'm getting to the end one, now I'm looking at all as the first draft, and I'm making the corrections while she's typing up the last tape. So the point is really as fast as I'm dictating it, the brief ends up getting written that way. As opposed if I had to type it, or if you're not a fast typer, it just takes way longer.
Way longer. Now, I know that you have 3 kids that are adults now.
Yes.
If your kids listen to this, I know you don't have any grandkids now, but if one day your grandkids listen to this, what would you want them to know about just your life in Las Vegas, your career in Las Vegas?
My career?
Just in general, what would you want them to know?
There's anything really to know about my career. I don't like talking about myself. So what my message would be to them is stay close to family. I love you.
Yeah.
That's it. That's my greatest accomplishment are the kids.
The kids.
That's it.
Nothing else matters.
No.
I don't think I ever, I have a 1-year-old, and I don't think I quite appreciated that until I became a mom, that all of this is fine. But at the end of the day, man, that's all that matters.
Oh,
That's
wait,
it.
wait, it's gonna get worse.
She's already sassing me, John. So
It's
you tell me
okay.
this is going to get worse.
Well, and I say get worse. You know, like if you go down to juvenile court, to me a very sad place.
Yes.
I see a lot of kids there that I see, and I cut my teeth on juvenile in San Diego in law school. Got a dispensation from the bar to go represent juveniles. So I did that for 2 years before I even became a lawyer. But I see parents that aren't parents to the kids. And I look at some of these poor kids. I'm a bleeding heart in this sense that I don't believe there's a bad kid. I think you got bad circumstances. And so, yeah, I to me, the greatest accomplishment is the kids because of that, you know. And you'll see as you go with your child and hopefully some more. You planning on more?
I think so. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see.
Well, that's a good thing.
It's really crappy being pregnant, John. So
I've never had that experience, but
I got to get over that trauma first.
Yeah, well, I've caused that situation. Sometimes I think just by looking, but but no, the kids are a great thing because that is something that is going to endure.
Yeah.
That's your family. Legacy. That's your legacy.
Yeah.
And hopefully what you've taught them is instilled in it, and it goes on and on and on. Like the things I was taught, and that becomes your greatest legacy.
Absolutely.
You know, you like you said before, you know, you win a case, now you're going on to the next one.
Yeah.
You remember it in the back of your head, and we tell war stories.
Right.
But other than that, then what?
Yeah.
Nothing.
And I think that's the point. I always thought I wouldn't have kids, and I got to that point. It was like, well, I've done everything that I think I want to do professionally, right? I want to do more of the same.
Sure.
But I've kind of hit all those milestones, and so then what's the legacy? You know, what am I just going to do this for the next 50 years? I mean, I guess, yeah, but like I wanted to.
As long as you enjoy it, do it.
That's true. I probably will. You have any you going to slow down anytime soon?
Hell no.
Okay. So if somebody wants to hire you, how do they do that? Do they call your office?
Call,
I know you're
email.
not on social media. So.
No, I'm not on social media, and I have slowed down in the sense that, you know, at any given, I remember one time way back when I'd look, paralegal, count the cases, how many goddamn cases I'm carrying or whatever. Right. And it was like 350, 400 cases or something like that. And I'm like, no. I have because I had a very bad habit of, I always wanted to help people, truly. And I did not charge as much as I should. And other lawyers, it was always their big criticism. I mean, you don't charge enough. You're not. So anyway, I'm not going to stop. I'm never going to stop. But I'm taking, you know, less cases, bigger cases.
Good.
Kind of thing. So it's not that I won't take a small case. I will, but you know, I'm just not not everything that comes through the door. You know, it's just not happening.
We normally have people share like their social media handles. I'm not gonna have you do that. If they want to hire you, do they call your office, and then what's that number?
They can call my office, which is 702-385-4994. But the last I checked, we got a problem with the phones. Those aren't going through.
Okay.
Because most of my business is word of mouth.
Okay.
Referrals from other lawyers, and I do work for other law firms. So, for instance, on a civil case, this has happened a bunch of times. They may have trouble with a witness, preparing a witness. And as you're preparing a civil case, what are you going to do? Cross-examine a witness that is good for you, and they may have some weak spots. Now they kind of look at you shying away. So anyway, some civil firms would bring me in. I need you to cross the client and prep him for trial.
Ah,
okay, I'll cross them.
That's fun.
I'll cross them, and when we're done, you'll be fine at trial.
They'll be ready.
Oh yeah,
well, that's good.
So that's always a fun thing. So it's most of my business comes from just other lawyers. And clients. It's word of mouth. I don't advertise. I don't do social media. Don't want to.
I don't blame you. It's kind of exhausting anyway. So
well, I don't know though, but it's the new world.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's in fairness, it's been the world for like 25 years, but yes, it is.
No, I'm giving you a hard time. But it's changed that way, and, and you kind of have to do it. I'm not going to be that guy. Don't listen to rock and roll.
Yeah,
it's the devil's thing, or all that. You know, the world has changed. You got to accept it. Yeah, okay? I'm not going to be a dinosaur. I just don't do it.
Yeah, that's fair, and I think you've proven that you don't have to.
I guess.
You have. So thank you so much for joining us today.
I love being here with you today. This was kind of fun.
Okay.
And I don't do this stuff.
I have I'm not going to get it for you, but right below this table, there is a treasure box with a bottle of whiskey in there for you as a thank you from us at Bighorn Law. We last year we bought a barrel of a single barrel at from Jack Daniel's, and so there is one of our bottles of our whiskey from our barrel under there. And so I just wanted to say thank you for coming all this way to North Las Vegas to film in our studio. I really appreciate it, and we'll have to have you back at some point. We've got some criminal cases that we'll have to talk about. Maybe we can have you shoot the shit with us about those.
Oh, happy to do it. Happy to do it.
We've talked about a few, but it's only like me and a civil litigator, and we're guessing about what anything means. So it'll be nice to have an actual expert on here.
That'll be fun. I appreciate it. I loved it.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for another episode of Legally Vegas. Stay tuned for the next one. If you're not already, please make sure and like and subscribe. You can find us anywhere where you listen to podcasts, and that includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.